All right, guys, what is up? I am back. Today we're going to be talking about TradingView. All right, so we're going to look at kind of the basics of TradingView, how it works, um, some of the major layouts and charting, manipulation, indicators, the different drawing tools, everything that we do as traders, everything that we use for technical analysis. This is going to be important stuff. It's going to take a little while, so sit back, relax. Hope you have a cold drink and a snack. So the first thing we have to do is if we're at the TradingView main page, so it'd be tradingview.com. So if we go back and take the symbols out, right? So this is the first thing you're going to see is the TradingView main page. So it's going to, up here, you're going to have the symbol search. You're going to have all kinds of other stuff, and it is what it is. But this is the main thing you want to know right here. If you're not a member yet, join for free. You're going to create a username, email, password, accept the terms, say you're not a robot. If you are, I'm sorry, you can't do it. You're going to sign up. Once you sign up, you verify your email, and then you are good to go. So then you log in. So we're going to log in with my account. You cannot see my password, even though this is my spare demo account that we're using. What? Caps lock on? No. Oh, I made it a different password. Okay. We're back in business. My bad. Okay. So this is my demo account. When you guys log in, this is the first thing you're going to see. So you're going to see the ideas and market summaries, and you can go through and look at stuff if you want. Not a huge deal. The important stuff, though, is where we're going to start. We're going to start on the right. See this thing called your watch list? Your watch list is where you're going to put in different Forex things that you look at. So like the dollar currency, Bitcoin, some of your cryptocurrencies, any of your pairs that you like trading, like US CAD, Gold USD, Britain Pound USD, and so forth. So let's just pick, we'll pick UCAD just to show you. So what's going to happen is going to come up here. You have US dollar, Canadian dollar. Now, when you guys come into here, you're going to want to go to the full featured chart, this section right here. And when you go to the full featured chart, it's going to ask you to switch and have pro access and all that. You don't need it. Hit no thanks. You can do pretty much everything you need to do without the pro access. If you want to do the pro access, that is totally up to you. So I'm going to do first, I'm going to undo this. I'm going to make sure we're on our default template, new layout. So this is completely new. This shouldn't really have much of the other stuff. So when you log into TradingView, there's a few things that you can do. So the first thing we're going to look at is the watch list. So the watch list, like I mentioned before, this is where you're going to put all your pairs that you're looking at. You can manipulate them and move them around. You can move them up and down. You can use the little red X to delete. So I'm going to delete US CAD. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look for US CAD. So USD CAD is the pair name. Now up here, let me just change this back. When you guys get signed up and you're looking at US CAD, right? This is what we're looking at. When you look at a pair, it's going to come up all of these different things. Now, on first look, it looks like these are all the same, right? They're all US CADs. Why wouldn't they be the same? Well, guess what? They are not. If you look over here to the right, where it says all exchanges and this down arrow, if you look, one is a FXCM exchange, one's the Oanda exchange, one's a Forex.com exchange, and it goes down and down. This becomes important when you're going between TradingView and MT4 and depending on your broker, because if you're marking up your chart on, based on the Oanda exchange and your broker through MT4 and everything bases off the FXCM exchange, it's going to be different. So your charts might still have solid markups. They look good. You're ready to go, and then you go into MT4 and you're like, wait, why is that so much different? Well, that's going to be it. It's where your exchanges are right here. So I know for me, I use Hugo Sway as my broker, and I use MT4. So I use the FXCM charts. What you could do is you can go to this arrow and you can just choose FXCM, and then it's only going to choose that. The only time this is not going to be easy to do, or you're not going to find something, is if you're looking at the cryptocurrencies, because typically they're going to be in something else. So I like to leave in null exchanges. That way, if I'm looking for a cryptocurrency, I can find it. That being said, we're going to go to this US CAD. We're going to choose FXCM. As you can see here, it added to our watch list. So now we have it right on our watch list, and we can move this up or down. Typically what I do for my order is I have a bunch of the dollar currency indexes on my regular account. So what I do is I put the indexes at top. This will allow me to kind of look at those first and kind of see what the dollar indexes are for, what they're doing for that day, what I think they're going to be doing, because all of your currency pairs are based on your dollar indexes from each representative country, right? So if you're looking at the Great Britain pound, you want to look at the Great Britain dollar index to see what it's doing. And then based on that, you can tell what the Great Britain pairs are going to be doing. Under all of the currencies, under all the dollar indexes, usually what I do is I'll put a couple of the cryptocurrencies that I like looking at, and then I put the more popular pairs that I look at. So like I'm always looking at gold USD, right? I'm always looking at like GU. The Great Britain pairs I think are pretty good. They have a pretty good movement, and I like looking at those. So that I try and keep those up near the top, maybe like a UJ, or what else do I like trading? UJ, Great Britain pairs. I mean, the USD pairs are good. US CAD's usually not too bad. That's pretty popular. Euro USD is usually pretty good. So we can look at like Euro USD, right? And then I put all the other pairs that I might be looking at, whether it be looking at somebody else's markup in Telegram, I can pull it up on my chart and kind of mark it and then compare it to theirs or however. So I mean, on my main account, I have a bunch of different pairs listed. But like I said, you can manipulate them and move them up and down and do whatever you want. So let's keep on Euro USD. The other things we have is this details section and this headlines section. So these two on the right. Headlines, you can look at it, it'll have like the news stuff. I usually just drag that down. Details could be useful because it'll show you, so we're on the 4-hour time frame, it'll show you kind of the ranges, so what it's at now, how it's looking, and then the range of the day, where the window is, kind of the highest and the lowest prices and stuff like that. So that could be helpful. Typically I just kind of leave it like that, or I'll leave it like that to get the daily range and see how it's doing for the day. So that's your watch list. Another thing you can do is you can flag certain ones. So typically what I do, if I'm going to flag a pair, that's a pair that I have in like a current trade. So if I'm trading EU and I have an active trade on EU, I'll flag it. Say I'm doing a GU as well, I'll flag it. Now in the free version, if you see these colors, you can flag them different colors. Unfortunately, in the free version, you can only use the red one. So that's why I'm only flagging a few at a time, and that's why I use it for active trades only. So let's leave EU flagged. Now this watch list, as you can see, it takes up a pretty good part of the screen, right? So if you come over here to the right toolbar, there's this button right here, watch list details and news. So that's what the watch list, the details, and the news. So if we click this button, as you can see, the watch list goes away. What's nice about that is it gives you that extra real estate on the screen to look at your chart. So we're gonna leave that open for a minute. You can also set alerts, which we'll get into in a little bit. You can look at a data window, which will show you data about that pair. So it'll show you kind of where it's opening, closing, highs and lows, and what the change is. If you want to look at that, you certainly can. There's also hot lists. Most of this stuff is going to be US exchanges, though, not really that useful. There's a calendar, which is kind of useful because it'll show some of the news events coming up. But I use Forex Factory for the news events. The other stuff I don't really use. It's like ideas and sharing stuff, and you can reorder the panel if you want to. I just kind of leave it there. So that's the right toolbar. Now on the top is also important. So the top, we're going to go right, left to right, okay? So on the top, this is your regular settings. You can put in a dark color theme, your drawings panel, and look at the keyboard shortcuts. This is going to be your pair you're looking at. So right now we're looking at Euro USD. If you don't have something on your watch list and you just want to look at something one time, you can just come up here and change it. So let's look at GBP JPY, right? Great Japan Japanese yen. We have the FXCM. We're going to click on it. So that doesn't add it to your watch list, but if you're not typically looking at it and you just want to look at it for reference or to practice marking up a chart, you can just type it in and find it. And then now we have GBP JPY. GBP JPY. I said that backwards. The next thing over here, we have our time frames. So typically if you just have a brand new account and you're just starting, you're not going to have, it's going to look like this, right? It could be on any one of these time frames, but these are your time frames. So this is what you would look at typically for the intraday strategy. We're looking at trending on the 1 hour and the 4 hour. And we're looking at our entries on the 15-minute, right? So that's how we would look at it. So what I do, instead of having to click on this all the time, if you look at this little star, you can add it to your favorites. And what that's going to do, I even add the 5, like, because if I'm doing entries and trading on a cryptocurrency that I know is going to be volatile, I'll typically look at it on the 5-minute if I'm doing entries or watching it when to get in or out of a trade. So I usually favorite the 5, the 15, the 1, and the 4. You can do daily, weekly, monthly. I mean, maybe daily would be the most that I would personally go, but I know a lot of people can go up to the week or the month. And that's going to depend on what kind of trader you are. If you're a scalper intraday, those lower time frames, the 5 and 15, are going to be a little more important to you. If you're like a position trader, then these higher time frames are going to be more important. But typically, as we know, we learn in new, you want to be trending on the 1 or the 4, and then you're wanting to do your entries on like the 15 or the 5. So now we see that all of these are shown up here, so I can just click back and forth and they all pop up. So this is it on the daily, this is it up on the 15. Handy, right? Let's go to the next section. These are where you choose what kind of graph you're looking at. So you have your bars, right? So bars are a little bit different. This is something we don't typically use, but I'll go over it really quickly. Let me grab my arrow tool, and I'm going to lock into drawing mode. So when you look at a bar, it's very similar to a candle, except of how it's drawn out. So if we look, say we look at this red one right here, right? We have a bottom and a top piece. And I'm just gonna come in a little bit more. There we go. But we also have this section right here and this section right here. So I'll move it just a hair. So you have your wicks. This is your bottom wick, this is your top wick. So that's going to still represent your high and your low for this particular bar. Then you have this dash up here and dash down here. These are going to represent your open and close prices, like a candle would have for that solid body and the wicks. So you have your wick, you have your wick, you have your close price and your open price for a red candle. You have your open price right here and your close price for a green one. And then you have your bottom wick and your top wick. Very similar. It's very similar. We don't typically use bars. We are more with candles. So as you know, with candles, you have your top wick, your bottom wick, and your body. You have your open price on a green candle on the bottom of the body, your close price on the top. And you have your wick here, Then you have your wick here. So the same thing with this in the time frame. You can add to favorites whichever ones you want. Some of the ones that I use are the regular candles, the Heikin-Ashi. This is a little bit different of a strategy. So this is something that unless you're kind of learning about it, I would maybe not worry as much about it and what it looks like. It's still kind of a candle setup, but it's a little bit different. The other one that I use sometimes is a line. As you can see with the line, it's kind of nice. Like if I go to the 1 hour, it's a lot easier to mark up my market strategy for me, right? High, low, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher high. Oh, now we got a lower low, lower high, lower low. The only thing with the lines is that it's not going to show you where the price wicked to and the open and close price. So it gives you a little bit less information. I'm pretty sure they're based just off the close price though. Let's go back to candles. This is what we know and love, right? We love our candles. Now the compare tool, you can compare it to other stuff. So if I want to look at, say I want to compare this to GBP EUR, if I want to compare it to the euro, what it's going to do is it's going to overlay the EUR, the GBP EUR, with the GBP JPY. It's going to do it as a line. I'm not 100% sure if you can really change that or not. I don't really use the comparison tool. It's kind of cool to look at though, and it'll show up right here under this Britain pound Japanese yen. Now, this is a good time to point out if you have indicators on your chart and you only see this great Britain pound Japanese yen and you don't see anything under here, there's this little plus icon right here. What I'm gonna do right here, right? That doesn't really help actually. If you hit this plus icon, this will show you the legend of indicators, just like it says. And then you can change settings. So you can change inputs and the style. So yeah, here you can change it to maybe hollow candles. I think the line probably works best if you were to do this because it's easier to tell. And then you can take it off. Now, the next part is indicators. So let's talk about indicators for a second. These are your indicators and your strategies. You can find them right here. You just click on it. Now there's, I don't know, a lot of these that you can use, right? You can go from zigzag to volume to multi-time period to moving average to ease of movement to Bollinger Bands to accumulation distribution. Most of this is crazy technical nonsense. The one that we would typically use for our intraday trading strategy, and the one that Cody and Easton always use, is the pivot points. So this is how to set up the pivot points on your chart to show what they're looking at. So if we click on pivot points standard, it's going to add the pivots. So let me get out of this. Now if you look, if we scroll out, that's a lot of pivot points, right? I don't need to see all of that. That's just showing the last X amount of pivots. But if you notice, our indicator section, we have this pivots part right here. Pivots traditional auto 15. So let's look at some of the settings. We can hide it or show it. So you can always take it off or show it. We also have the settings where you can delete it. So in the settings, this is the important part. If you want to make sure it's set up rightly is not a word. If you want to make sure it's set up correctly, you want to have the type as traditional, and you want to have the pivots time frame as daily. Now, as you can see, that changes a lot. Daily is very important here. Traditional and daily. Now, we have all these historical pivots. That's what they're called, right? It's all the ones that go back in time. If you don't want to see those, which typically we don't, you uncheck show historical pivots and it goes away. And then it just shows you the one. So with, without. And you can also set the number of pivots back. So say I just wanted to look at 2 pivots back, it'll show you the current one and one before it. We're going to leave this unchecked, so we're just seeing our traditional type and our daily pivot, which is today. You can also change the style. So this is where you would change maybe your font color for the labels. You can show or hide the labels, and you can change the color. So say I wanted to make them green or purple or whatever color your heart desires, right? That's a little light. Let's turn it to the darker one. That's still not right. It's this one. Yeah, and then you can also change the line type, the thickness of the line. So I can make this pivot a little thicker, a lot thicker, however you want to set it up. I usually have my pivots all the same color. If you want to change your, your 1 series, your 2 series through 5 series, if you want to change those colors, you're more than welcome to. That is completely personal preference. I usually keep them the same color, and what I do is I put the thickness a little bit thicker. That way, if I'm down in the chart and I'm like really deep and gritty into this section, I can still tell where the pivots are because I don't use that color for anything else. All right, so also if you want to save it, you can save whatever you set these to as your default, or you can reset them back to the normal. So we're gonna go back, we're gonna uncheck this, we're gonna go back to daily. We're gonna hit OK. So this has, now we have our pivots, right? We can look at our pivots, we can look and we can be like, oh, okay, cool. So that's indicators. Like I said, there's a bunch of them. Another one that I've been using recently is the moving average exponential. It's kind of cool. What it'll do is it gives you the moving average and it'll put it on a line. You can set these to, so the length is going to be how kind of far behind it is. So if I set the length to less than 10, that's going to be closer to the average. If I set it to 60, based on the close, as you can see, it kind of gets a little bit farther. And then you can change the offset. You can change the colors and what kind of line you want and all that fancy nonsense. We're going to delete that though for now, and we're just going to leave our pivots on. Templates. Let's look at the templates. Templates are up here. You can use some templates. You can save your indicator templates. Not really needed. Your alert, we'll talk about that now. So your alert, you can create alert. And we'll look at this a little bit more when it comes into lines, but you have your condition. So you have, crossing, entering a channel, exiting a channel, greater than, less than. So say if I'm looking at GBP JPY and I want to wait until it crosses this 136 mark, right? 136. If I put crossing up and a value of 136, that's going, when this trend crosses up and crosses the 136 line, it's going to send me a notification. It's going to send me an alert. You can do it once, so it'll only trigger it once, or you can trigger it every time that it crosses up that line with a limit of 1 time per minute. You can set the expiration dates. So this would expire at August 13th at 15:56. This alert would be no longer valid. If you have a pro account, you can do non-expiration, so you can leave it for however long you want. Now the alert actions, you can either notify it on the app if you have this on your, on your iPad or your tablet, and on your phone, you can put a notify on the app, and then you can get this when you log into your account on the app. It'll show a notification. You can get a pop-up on the chart if you're in it. You can have it send an email. You can have it play a sound on here. You can also do an email to SMS. That might be a pro. Nope, no, you just put in your your stuff, and then you can get a free email to SMS text. Okay, so those are alerts. Like I said, this is you can do cross up, cross down. We're going to go a little more in depth in this in a little bit. All right, guys, so let's talk about replay. So this is something that I actually just learned about. It's up here on the top toolbar next to everything else because we're going left to right. So the replay function is pretty cool. What it allows you to do is actually replay back a market. So right here, we have our jump to section, and we can change the speed. So we can change an update every 3 seconds. You can go way down. You can go, one update pretty quickly. So let's leave it at like 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick a section, right? So let's look at this. All right. We got to go to a higher time frame. Daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, so let's go to the daily. And let's go into here. Let's look at this spot right here, right? So we're going to jump to there. That's pretty cool, right? So now we're back in the market. We're looking at February, end of February 2019. So we have a couple options up here on this bar. And this bar we can move around wherever you want. If you just grab this little spot and click and move. So we have the play, we have a forward, and then a to real time, right? So if we hit play, every few seconds, we see a bar pop up. Look at that. And we can speed it up. So we get a bar a second. What's cool about this is you can now go back and you can look at, let's leave it going. You can look at whatever section you want and you can practice your markups with this. So you can go, okay, if I only knew back here, what was this looking like? What do I think the market's going to do? And then you can just let it play out literally in front of your eyes a whole lot faster than a live market's going to play out anyway. And you can move to the next one. You can move past them. So you can see I'm clicking and it's going faster. You can just skip right to the end and then it'll stop. And then here's where we back are currently. That's pretty cool, right? Now when you're done with the replay, all you have to do is hit exit replay mode. All right, so that's replay. These, let's see, let's draw a couple lines just real quick. I'm trying to see. Okay, so this is the undo and then redo, right? So if you put some sort of a mark on the chart, say I was playing with the brush tool, which is right here, and I just did woo, right? I don't want that. What did I do that for? You could either click on it and delete it, or you could just hit this undo, and then it'll take it out. And then you're gonna do this trend line, and you're gonna do this trend line. Or you can redo that trend line, and redo that, and redo that. That's pretty cool, right? All right, let's see. Next section, let's look at this. You can change your layouts. This is typically more for the pro version though. The free version, I think you can only keep one layout. Yeah, so you need the pro or the pro plus or premium. Here you can change chart layouts and save stuff and turn your sharing on, rename, make copies, stuff like that. This is your chart properties, so this is pretty important, guys. This is where you're going to change most of your layout. We're going to go over that in a second. I just want to go over the rest of this stuff. So here you can change it to full screen or out of full screen, take up your whole window, or leave it in the browser window like it is. And then this is how we take snapshots. So you guys are in the chats, you see a lot of people posting charts. Some people just take a picture of their screen with like their phone and then post it in the Telegram. But you can also use this if you're on a computer. So all you do is you hit take a snapshot. What it'll do is it'll bring up an image URL. You can copy, save it, or tweet it. So if you save it, what it's going to do is going to open in a new tab, and then you can save the image. You can do like save image as and then name it, or you can copy and paste that. Or if you're just putting it into Telegram, you can just copy this and it'll copy it to your clipboard. And you can exit out just by clicking outside of that box. All right, so before we get into the drawing tools and some of the other stuff, let's go back down to the 4 hour so we can see our pivots. And let's talk about the actual chart section itself. So we have our main working space, right? This is our chart. This shows where our ticks are, how the price is moving. Now, if we're looking at this on this right-hand side right here, up and down where the mouse is, just to the right of the chart, you see you have these numbers on the side, these are your price indicators. So these are kind of where these lines are. So if you look at these lines, these horizontal lines and match up right with these major indicators. They're just major indicators. They don't have a significance directly related to the chart, but the significance is that it's related to where it is on here. Now, if you look at this chart right now, you can see that it's not very easy to read like this, right? So how do we manipulate the chart in order to fix that? Well, on this right-hand side, if you want to change how much of the screen up and down it takes, or if you want to change what's called the amplitude of this price waveform, I'm going to call it a waveform because that's really what it is, right? So if you want to change the amplitude, which is how far up and how far down it goes, if you just click on this right bar, hold your mouse down, and drag up and drag down, you can see that that's changing how much of the screen this takes up. Now what you can do is, obviously this is kind of near the bottom, right? So if you click and hold on the actual chart, I'm still on a drawing tool, that doesn't count. We're gonna use the undo button. Okay, so if you click and hold on the chart, you see you can move. You can move this whichever way you want. So now it's a little more closer to the center. We're gonna come back over to this right-hand side. We're gonna click and hold and drag it up. Maybe we'll do it one more time. There you go. Now, if I want to see more of this waveform horizontally, aka I want to see it farther back, there are a couple ways of doing that. But before that, let me point you off at something right here. So see this where it's highlighted, and then you have this green bar right here. So you have this highlighted section right about there. That's the current price. So right now the default setup is that if the price is going in the uptrend, or if it's on a green candle, this bar is going to be green. If it goes into a downtrend or onto a red candle, this bar should turn to red. How can we check that? Well, let's go to our daily and let's look at this replay function real quick. So we're just going to come back to here. Okay, and then we're going to play it out. And you can see that it's red. See, on a red candle it's red, and it's still red. But when we turn to a green candle, it goes back to green. So this is the default color setup. So, I mean, you could just look at this right-hand bar and say, oh, it's on a red candle, or oh, it's on a green candle right now. That's pretty cool, right? So let's go back to the end. We ended on a green candle, so that's why it's on a green. Now, earlier I was talking about if we wanted to see more of this, right? So you can always go on this workspace. You can click and hold and drag it, and click and hold and drag it, and then vice versa, and go all the way forward and backwards. There's two ways that you can also do this. So if you use your mouse scroll wheel, if you have a mouse, laptop's a little bit harder, but unless you have an external mouse. If you have a mouse and you use your middle scroll wheel, either roll up on the mouse scroll wheel or roll back on the mouse scroll wheel. See how that works? So up is like you're zooming in, like you're getting closer, and then down is like you're zooming out, getting kind of farther away. So you can see more of this wave, more of this trend line, and more of the actual price. Now the second option, this is very handy for people that don't have a mouse, or they're using a laptop. And this also works in the app, in the TradingView app. And this bar down here, you have your time frame. Right here, you have your time frame, right? So if I look February, March, April, you see how these arrows goes from a crosshair or from a cursor to this left and right arrow? If I click and hold this, and I move it to the left, what happens? I zoom in. Then if I move it to the right, I zoom out. So that's also a good way to do it, right? So if you don't have a mouse scroll wheel, you can do it this way. If you have a mouse scroll wheel, you can do it this way, whatever's easier for you guys. So those are the few ways to manipulate these charts quickly. Is you can use the right bar to move it up and down. You can use this bottom bar to move it in or out. And you can use the scroll wheel to move it in and out. And if you need to move the wave around, you can click and hold anywhere in the workspace with the cursor and it will move. So let's look at the chart properties. So earlier I mentioned this little gear up here that is the chart properties. There's two ways to get to the properties. You need to click on this and it'll bring you up to all the chart settings. Or in an empty space, you can right click on the chart and you can go back to settings and it brings up the same stuff. Okay, so there's two ways, through that gear or right clicking and going to settings. Now if we look at these, our first one is the symbols. So these are going to be the colors of our candles, the color of the borders, and the color of the actual wick. Okay, this last line value, see how it has that green and red? That's exactly what we were talking about over here, where it's green and red. So green if it's on a green candle, red if it's on a red candle. You can also have a previous close line value. This might be a pro setting, because as you can see, it's grayed out. Just data for dividends, we don't really need that, and the extended hours intraday, we don't need that as well. Default, you can change the accuracy and precision of what this is on the precision. I leave it to default. I don't think there's really that much of a reason to change it. And we can change our time zone. So our time zone is what we're actually going to see for the times, right? So if I just put my cursor right there, if you follow that vertical line from my cursor down, you can see it says 18 July 19. And if you follow it right, you can see that it has the price from the cursor, 1.13177. That's the date and the price that this is. So let me go back to the 4 hour for a second. We'll go back into the settings. Now, if you look, if you take the cursor, find the vertical line, and then move down right here, you can see that there's a date and now there's a time. That time is what this time zone represents. So right now I'm Central Standard Time, so I'm going to be the UTC -5 because we're in daylight savings, out of daylight savings. Either way, daylight savings is a nightmare. But we're 5 hours behind UTC. So this 2000 or 8 o'clock p.m. is my time, not the UTC. Right now, it is 22:22, which is 10:22 UTC -5. So that's nice because it gives you the times in your time, not in the UTC. Now, we're at UTC 5 in Chicago, -5. The other way to change this is if you look down here where it has this UTC and the time, you can click on it and then you can choose whichever one you need, right, up to 13. New Zealand, let's see where else we have. You got all of them, right? So depending on what time zone you are, you can change this. We're gonna stick with Chicago. All right, so these are the settings, right? You can change your color. You can put whatever color you want. You can put whatever opacity you want. You can make it lighter, darker, all of the above. And you can change this however you want. All of this kind of colors and that kind of stuff, this is all 100% personal preference, okay? I just want to make sure that you guys know that. This is all personal preference. Now, and if you do set all this up and you have your preference set and you like how it is, you can save it as a template. So the templates are down right here. You can either apply default, save as, or use a theme. So I already saved one, but we're going to go save as. We're going to save it as the test, right? Now, when I go back to template down here, test shows up. And I can pull it up, and now I have the test template. Make sense? Good. Let's go to the status line. Status line we don't really use that much. You have symbol description, open, high, low, close values, bar change, titles. I just leave all this stuff alone. It's not stuff that I prefer to deal with. It works fine as it is, so I don't touch it. Scales, again, scales I don't really mess with. The only thing on here that you could really do is you could put like your symbol name on here if you wanted to match this. The only thing though is that you already kind of know what symbol it is, so it just adds more clutter to the screen in my opinion. People may want that though. You can look at previous close values, indicator names, all this kind of stuff. I don't really mess with a lot of this stuff. Again, it adds clutter to my chart. I don't really need it. The only other thing is this date format. If you want to change the date format, you can kind of go through all of these and figure out which one works best for you. So let's move to the appearance setting. So this is where you're actually going to change what the chart itself, like what the background looks like. So you can change the background color. You can go white, you can go red, you can go black. I know a few people that have use a black background. I know a few people that have like a darker gray background, a lighter gray, like something like this or this, maybe just to give it a little extra contrast. I mean, you could go blue, orange, you could go like fuchsia. Nah, this is more of like a fuchsia, right? Go blue, purple, pink, whatever you guys want, right? I typically stick to the white. Again, all of this is personal preference. All right, so the vertical and horizontal grid lines, it's not something I typically use, but you can use them. It just kind of helps kind of break apart some stuff so you can see that you have your major grid lines. And these horizontal grid lines correspond, as you can see, to these little tick marks over here next to the price. The vertical ones come down and go towards your time and date, right? So you'll have one at every major tick mark in here. You can use them, you can not use them. You can change the color if you want. Say I want blue lines and I want them to be dotted. You can do that. This section changes the line type. This section changes the color and the opacity. So I can make them barely visible if I want. I can make them really dark. Personally, I put them as white and I don't have to see them. It works better for me. Again, all of this is personal preference stuff. Now the session breaks, this is actually kind of cool. Not something I use, but it's pretty cool. If you click this, you're going to see these lines, right? So let me actually move this right here for a second. You can see all of these vertical lines that just popped up. We can make them whatever color, right? So we can make them red. We can make them that lovely fuchsia color. You can make them yellow so you can't see them on the way. Make them dark blue, whatever you want, right? So I think they were like a bluish, like that. Now, you can also change the line type. You can make it solid, you can make it dashed, you can make it dotted, however you guys want. Interesting, if you look at our pivots, look where that session break lines up perfectly, right with the beginning of that pivot. Keynote with the pivots, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but if I didn't, the pivots change daily. It's like an algorithmic equation that the exchange companies use, and they recalculate daily. So typically the pivots are only going to last for one trading day, and then they reset and you get a new set of pivots. So that's why you'll see like these will change. They'll get closer together or farther apart. So it's kind of cool to see the session breaks. That's up to you guys. Another personal preference. I don't use them. I have seen one person, I don't know how they did it, is they actually had different colors set up, and I'm guessing it's so you could see the different sessions that were being used during those times. You can change any of your scale text and lines. So I can make my scale lines red, and that's just going to change these right there, as you can see. I mean, like a dark gray is fine. You can change the crosshair color. So if you want this crosshair to be a little bit different, you could change it. You could change the line type. You can add a watermark. So the watermark will show you kind of what it is. Some people use the watermark. I typically don't. This navigation button, visible on mouse over, always visible, always invisible. I just leave it visible on mouse over. You can change your margins. Those are kind of, exactly what it is. It's a margin. Now the trading section, we don't typically do any trading on TradingView. So a lot of this stuff is not going to be applicable to us because we do most of our trading through MT4, right? So the show positions, orders, and all that kind of stuff, you don't have to worry about it. I would say just leave it as it is and move along. Now the events, you can show all this stuff again. You can show like event breaks. So if we look down here, you can see that these are different events that are taking place. So this is like the reserves, U.S. Oil bean stocks, Eurozone stuff, more U.S. stuff. You can put the breaks on so that you can see where the events are, and this will show you in the lines, like in the chart where it is. I've never actually played with it. It's kind of cool, but I'm gonna leave it off for now. So this is the chart settings, guys. Again, we can get to them from this settings, this gear right here, chart settings, or we can right click on the chart and go to settings and then go through there. All right, so let's talk about some drawing tools. I think it's the point where we can start talking about those. So our drawings toolbar is going to be on the left. And this is where you're going to have all your different markup tools, right? So this is your cursors. You can change what kind of cursor you want. I just leave it across. This is where you're going to get your trend line, your horizontal line, your arrows, your diagonal or your parallel channels, some other stuff that I don't really use that much. I use a horizontal ray in the line. And then here we can also bookmark these, right? We can add these to our favorites. So if I want to add the ray to the favorite, I hover over this where it says add to favorites with star, and I click the star. Unclick, click, unclick, click. You can see right here, we have our favorites toolbar that just popped up. So this has the line, horizontal line, arrow, parallel channel. I have a fib retracement. I have the two positions, which we'll talk about, rectangle and array. But I don't know why I chose array. I meant to choose this horizontal ray. Okay, that's better. Now, in order, when you have these favorited, if you come down here to the left, right down here on the left-hand side, there's this show favorite drawings toolbar. And if you unclick it, the toolbar goes away. If you highlight it and click it, the toolbar comes back. So then you have quick access to this kind of stuff. It's pretty handy. The second section, the only thing that I really use in here, when you have these 7 million different things, what we're gonna use though is this fib retracement. There is a section in the education platform, I believe, just on fibs, but you drag it out, you get your lower lows, your higher highs, and you can see, okay, well, when this came back, it went to the 68.1. Well, that's pretty good, right? So it's going to go all the way down. 68.1 is a pretty strong retracement. But you guys will learn about that in the education platform. This is just how to get to it. Now, if you're on like this fib thing and you want to look at a property, like look at the properties of this, when this is highlighted, see how it has these bubbles, and this is where you can adjust it. If you double click when you get this hand instead of the cursor, it'll bring to all these properties. These are all the properties on how you can change the lines, show what you want, show the levels where the labels are. You can put certain coordinates in so it's more exact. You can change the visibility of that kind of stuff. So these are the settings that I use. I got these settings from Coach Sean. They work pretty well for me. I like the way it works, so I don't really mess with it. So if you guys want to look at the settings, again, here's what they look like. And you can do this with any tool, right? So if I use the trend line and I set up a trend from here to here, say this is the trend that I'm looking at. If I pull over this mouse, if I mouse over this line, I can double click it and I can pull up the trend line setting. So you can use this on pretty much any one of these tools, and you can change the colors and the line types. You can change the positions and all this stuff. You can put exact coordinates for where you want it for the first part and the second part. Save those as templates and go from there. That way you can change it. Now, if you also notice though, when I drew this trend line, up here this bar popped up. So you can see this bar right here. It's the one I'm moving. You can move it by grabbing this left side where this is, grab it and move it. Now we can change the color, you can change the line type, you can change if it's dashed or dotted, what one end looks like, what the other end looks like. You can also go to the more in-depth settings, which is this gear icon, and that's going to give you back to this, right? You can add alerts, visual order, clones, copies, lock it. You can hide it, you can delete it. Same thing with the fibs. You can change the colors. You can go to the settings, delete it, remove it. You can also, if you have a line or something, you can right click and hit remove, and that will also delete said line. Let's look at this section. We have our brush rectangle. The brush I use sometimes if I'm trying to mark up maybe price action real quick and I don't want to set up a trend line and use it for that. I can, okay, high, low, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like that stuff. You can also use the brush just to delineate stuff or whatnot. Rectangle. This is one of my most used tools. All right, I'm going to tell you why. When I mark up my charts and I look at a major support and resistance, I use a rectangle because, as we know from our training, resistance zones are exactly that. I can't just draw one line and it's going to always follow that, right? So it's more of a zone. You can see that with these candles, how they are. So if I look at this right around here, I want to place a rectangle. So I'm going to say I want to start my zone here. I'm going to click, I'm going to drag it across, and then bring it to where I want, and then click again, and that'll place the rectangle. Typically what I do is I pick a color and I go more transparent, because then I can still see all of the colors and I can see everything moving around in here. So I can see that, okay, in this zone, yeah, this green candle hit, this one fell through, and if I change, like, let's do this. If I change the opacity, what good does that do you if you can't see behind it, right? You're looking at a zone, so you want to be able to see it. You want just enough of a contrast so you can tell what it is and not have to worry about it. You can also change the color of the line. You can delete it from here, go to your settings. Your rectangle settings are pretty simple. You're going to have your border and your background. That's all it's really in there. And then you have your coordinates. So this is going to be where like the first point is and where the second point is. So this is going to do the top and the bottom. These sections are for the left and the right. This is just a unit, not a date. It's easier typically just to click and drag those. So say I wanted to place one right here, click, move it, click again, and now I have another zone. So when I do support and resistance lines, what I do is I use the rectangles for the major zones, and then I use a horizontal line. What I'll do is I'll change this to a dashed line, and I'll go with like maybe like a slightly lighter blue, and I'll say, okay, this is my major support and resistance, but when I'm down here and I'm on a 15-minute time frame, which we get from up here, right? I don't want to, okay, that's the big major zone, right? So with this with the horizontal line though, I can come in and go, okay, I want to watch this section. And then I have this section marked. Now I know it's not just a line, like we talked about, it is a zone, but this is an area of interest. So I know a little bit on either side of this, I have to be careful. Now this one pretty much went right up onto it. Awesome. It may or it may not. And if we look back, typically when you get some sort of support and resistance, you're going to have a major and a minor. And you can see this one kind of translates back pretty well. So let's go back to here. Let's drag this down. Okay, so those are that's how you, and application for a horizontal line. Another way I use a horizontal line is I'll say I grab this, I'm going to change it to like an orange, and I'm going to go to a solid line. If I decide that I want to enter this trade, and I put, let's see, let's do a quick analysis. We're kind of bearish, so say I want to put in a sell trade. It doesn't matter, sell or buy. I choose this horizontal line. So now it's orange and I have a solid line. I say, we went up and I bought it right here or sold it right here, right? I placed a trade right there. Now I have a reference on here as to what I'm doing or where it's going. It's a quick, easy way for me to do it. I use these only for one color. And again, you can double click on it and make this coordinate of the line exact. That way it's exactly where you put it. So those are rectangles and some horizontal lines. We talked about those. So let's remove the drawing tools. To remove all of them on a page, you can right click on the chart and hit remove all drawing tools, or you can look at this little trash can right here, and then you can go to this arrow and you can remove drawing tools, indicators, or drawing tools and indicators. So we're just gonna remove the drawing tools and they went away. Let's talk about text. You can do regular text. So right, this is my regular text. You can change all the style, visibility, anything like that. Hit OK. You can move it around by clicking on it and dragging, or you can, leave it wherever it is. The other one that I use typically are going to be callouts. So if I want to call out this candle and say that's an engulfing bearish candle, right? I can change the style and stuff. So say I wanted this background color. Okay, it's not letting me change it for some reason. But anyway, you can change the fill color, make it dark, and have a bright line, right? You can move this around, you can move this around, and you can call out stuff. So I'll do this, like if I have a previous major support and resistance, I'll use that just that way when I'm moving my chart through, I can use that in reference. This next section has all kinds of crazy stuff. Some of this stuff you guys are going to go over in the education platform, like your Head and Shoulders, but that's not stuff you really need to worry about right now. The two on here that I use a lot are your long position, your short positions. So if you guys have been in any weekly forecasts or trade sessions with Cody or Easton, they use this all the time, right? So long position, if I place it, is going to be what would be equivalent to a buy trade, right? Because we have our green, our profit on top, and our red or the stop loss area on the bottom. So once you place it, you can use this one right here and make it bigger or smaller. You can use this point right here to move your profit. You can move this point right here to move your loss. Now when we're moving these, you can see that these amounts and the targets change. You can also see in here, there's a risk to reward ratio. So if you want to stick with a better ratio, you can do that. So you can see kind of, oh wow, this would have been a terrible buy, but you also wouldn't put your stop loss here. So that's the long position. The long position is for buying. Let's look at the short position. The short position is what we'd want here, right? We'd want to sell. Now again, we can use this part to move. And as you can see, the only thing it did, it's going to function exactly the same. It's just upside down now. Just upside down. But that's it. And then you can move it. Now, if you double click on these, you can change the colors that you want, change the text and all that. But the important part is this coordinate level. What you can do is you can put your entry point of the trade on this entry price. And what this will do, so if I say I bought it at 1.290, I hit OK. You see how it just adjusted that? And I can change where my stop loss is or where this is. The nice thing about this is if I put in, like I say, okay, I'm looking at this, I want to put a sell right here. And I want to figure out where my stop loss and my take profit would be. you can just take these and put them right into MT4 or into the MT4 app. And then there you have your stop loss and take profit all set. So those are good tools. That's why I have those on my favorites bar, because they're very useful. Let's delete those. Now let's talk about deleting something, right? So I have this long position. I didn't mean to put it there. I didn't mean to move it, or whatever. If I want to remove it, there's a few ways to do it. The first one is I can right click on it and hit remove. I can use the trash can icon on the actual drawing toolbar that pops up for each different tool, or I can hit the delete key, and that will also do it. Okay. We have this setting, this section right here. These are all symbols. I mean, you could use them if you're trying to, say, mark like a rejection point or something like that. I don't use them that much. They could be useful. I don't know why you would want to put, a set of headphones or a highway or, an anchor on here. I don't know, but the options available. You can put a Wi-Fi symbol. Oh, no Wi-Fi, got to sell. I don't know. Another useful tool is this ruler. You can measure stuff, right? So if I want to know the difference in pips or time between, say, this point right here, this wick, and this wick right here, I click on the first part, and then as you can see, it opens up this kind of grid section. I click on this other part, this wick that I was looking at, and it's going to give you some data, right? You're going to say it's minus 0.00935, minus 0.83%. So that's the difference between these two parts right here, between the top and the bottom, minus 93.5. So that's what, 93.5 pips, something like that, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 93.5 pips. So this is your pip count. It's also going to show you how many bars or how many days it took. So this took 4 days and 12 hours for it to get from this point to this point. So you can use this to measure stuff if you're looking at maybe your take profit or trying to measure, what your, a pip difference or something like that. You can use this. You do have a zoom in, so you can use the zoom tool to zoom in to a certain section, and that'll just be that section. Notice once you zoom in, you have another zoom in where you can select the new section, or you have a zoom out where it'll let you step it back out to the original. So this is good if you're like way out here in the weeds, right? We're way out here. So you know what? I just want to look at between here and here. Bam. Now we have that one section on our chart. Then we go, okay, cool, done. I can zoom back out and it'll go back to the normal setting. The next tool is the magnet. I've never really used this, but it'll snap drawings placed near price bars to the closest open, high, low, close value. So you can snap stuff almost like it's on a grid. This next tool, though, I use all the time is stay in drawing mode. If I'm drawing on a chart and I'm not in this drawing mode, right, and say I'm using a trend line, we're going to use a black marker right here, and we're marking price action. If I'm not in this trend mode or this drawing mode, every time I draw a line, I have to go back to here and click on line and then move it. However, if I'm in this drawing mode, I click on the tool I'm going to use. So here it's trend line. I click, I drop. I click, I drop. I click again, I drop. I click, 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 click. So you guys get the idea? It makes drawing way easier. Way easier. See how quickly I did that? Or if I were to try and let's just do this section without the drawing mode. Okay, let's start here. Go to there. Go back to drawing. Go back to my trend line. Go up to here. Oh, wait, no, I gotta go back to here. Go to here. Oh, geez, I lost it again. Gotta come way back up. So you guys get the idea. This drawing mode lock keeps you in drawing mode So if I'm whatever I'm marking, I just click away my happy heart, and now I have this beautiful drawing that I would hang on the fridge. Same thing with the arrows, right? So when you see Cody and Easton in the training videos and they're going here or here, or should you go under here? Oh no, what about here? Oh, what about here? What about here? What about there? They're using the drawing mode. It's just easier. That's it. I would have entered right about here, but that's just me. I'm just kidding. Obviously, it's right there. Okay, so the drawing mode makes your life easier. Now, if you're in a drawing mode and say I wanted to move my chart around, like I wanted to go back and I'm stuck in the drawing mode, I'm trying to drag my mouse. It's not working, right? If you right click once, it deselects whatever tool you're on and then you can move it. Makes life easy. All right, let's get rid of this nonsense. I can't hang it on the fridge anymore. You can also lock drawing tools. So if you put, say I put a trend line on here, and I go, okay, that is my trend line. That's where I want it. If you lock your drawing tools, see how I can't move it anymore? I can't move it there. I can't move it there. I can't move it there. It's stuck in place. I can still delete it, but I can't move it. So we're going to unlock that. The other thing is you can hide all drawing tools. So if I put 700 trend lines on here, say I'm over evaluating, right? This is here, this is there. Oh, it went up. Oh no, it went down here. Oh, but it went down here. I went up to here, and oh, we got another trend right here. Oh yeah. Oh, look at this one. This one's good. This one counter trend. You know. Oh, I might have a channel here. Let's roll down. Let's go back. Right. And I just want to look at it fresh and not remove everything because my over analysis was perfect. I can just hit that button, and now they're all hidden. And then I can unclick it, and then they're all here. All right, so let's remove those hideous drawing tools. On the left side, like I said, this is how you show and hide this favorites bar. And one more thing I wanted to show you guys was the parallel channel. I don't remember if we went over it already. The parallel channel looks like that. What's nice about this is say you have something that's following a trend, right? You're putting trend line on the top and the bottom and it's following. Well, instead of using two trend lines, I can just mark a channel. Now, obviously, this is not a perfect example, but you click once and then you click the second time to get your trend line down, and then you just drag it and click it, and then you have a channel. Now, you can always adjust the height of this. So say I thought that fit a little bit better, right? I can adjust that. If I wanted to swing this corner a little bit around, or say I wanted to look at this section, right? I can move it and manipulate it as I need it. Then I can also change colors, just like anything else. Up here, I can delete it right there, and it goes away. One other thing that I want to point out, right here, we were talking about indicators earlier and setting everything up, right? So you have it under this Euro USD. You can go back to your whatever indicator you're using. You can show and hide it, and then go to your settings and change how you want it, or you can take it completely off. So guys, I think that's going to be it. This was a little bit more condensed than the live session, so I hope that it's a little bit easier to listen to. I am going to post times in the description of the video, so that if you only want to look at a certain portion of this section and pick up something on here, then that is available to you guys. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.